Now in this video, we're going to be talking all about power tools.
Okay, so we're going to talk about 5 main power tools that you ought to have in the woodworking workshop. The first one is a drill. The second one is an impact driver. The third one is a jigsaw. The fourth one is a random orbital sander. And the fifth one is a planer. Okay, so first let's have a look at a drill. Now when you're purchasing a drill, you need to decide, are you going to go for corded or cordless? Now if you're using it in the workshop, in and around the workshop, you're more than likely going to go for a cordless drill. Now you can buy corded drills. The advantage of a corded drill is they tend to have a little bit more power. It's continual power, so you're not reliant on your battery, and they can be a lot more heavy duty if you're using them for prolonged use. However, they do require a power point, of course. Now if you go for a cordless drill, you've got a lot more freedom and movement, making them ideal for in the workshop and for DIY projects. Modern battery technology now ensures a longer run time and quick charging time. Then you're going to think about what brand to go for. If I was you, I would opt for a reliable brand, something like a DeWalt, Makita, Bosch, Milwaukee or Festool. These brands are known for being durable, their reliability and the good customer support if anything does go wrong. It's always a good idea to get a brand that's got interchangeable batteries. Something like the XT range in the Makita, where you can swap batteries from tool to tool, and it'll save you buying more batteries, and you can always have batteries on charge. And the power is decided by the voltage of the power tool. They normally start around about 12 volt, which is suitable for light duty tasks. And then they go up to 18 to 20 volt, which is a good all-rounder and the one I particularly use in the workshop. And then you can go up to 24 volt or higher, designed if you're doing really heavy duty work. Now some of the other features to look out for is things like battery type, chuck size, speed settings, the clutch. An LED light is always useful, especially if you're working inside cupboards and things. And also choose a drill that's nice to hold. You've got to get on with it. This drill's going to last you for years, hopefully, so it's got to be something you gel with. Price wise, a drill can start around less than £50 and go up to £100. The mid-range sort of £100 to £200, and then the high-end models you're looking at £200 and above. Always buy the best one you can, which will fit into your budget, because if you go cheap, you may regret it. Now we're going to look at impact drivers. Now impact drivers tend to be cordless. In fact, I've never seen a corded impact driver. I know they do pneumatic ones for air, but most of them tend to be cordless. So you're not really going to have to decide between corded and cordless. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a cordless impact driver. Now they're perfect for assembling furniture and whatnot. Brand wise, always go for the best one that your budget will allow you to. Something like a DeWalt, Makita, Milwaukee, Bosch, IOB, Festool. They're all good makes, they are, and always try and get the best quality one you can afford. When you're buying an impact driver, you need to look for torque ratings. Ideally, you want a torque rating between 1,200 to 2,000 for general use. Higher torque models are available, but you probably only going to need them if you're going into hardwood and things like that. Check whether your impact driver offers variable speed, because it gives you a lot more control when you're putting screws in. Look at the design of the impact driver. Make sure it's not too heavy, it's quite lightweight, just feels nice to hold. Also, another thing to look for is a brushless motor. Brushless motors are great. They're a lot more reliable and a lot less likely to go wrong. LED lights on the front of an impact driver. When I first saw these come out, I just thought it's just a total waste of time, just something else to run your battery down, but I was so wrong. LED lights on impact drivers are amazing, especially if you're working inside kitchen cupboards or cabinets and things like that. It just makes life so much easier. An entry level sort of impact driver, you're going to be looking around about £80 to £150. A mid-range, £150 to £250. and at high end 250 plus. It's always good. Have a look and see if you can get a twin pack, which will include the drill from the alien section and an impact driver in one kit. You can normally buy these now. I've seen them about for just over £100 for a pair, and that's a really good buy. You can get a Makita combi set, they're called, and you'll have an impact driver and a cordless drill, and they're around about £130, £140, I believe now. Now let's take a look at jigsaws. Now jigsaws can be corded or cordless. Corded jigsaws are great and you're not reliant on a battery, but the cordless jigsaw gives you a lot more mobility, and one of the big problems with jigsaws is you tend to catch the cable with the blade. So a cordless jigsaw is great. If you're not doing long periods with the jigsaw, I would definitely go for a cordless one rather than a corded. Now, trusted brands in jigsaws include Bosch, DeWalt, Makita, Black & Decker and Festool. All these brands really are good quality, and again, always try and get the best one you can afford. One thing to look out for in a jigsaw is the stroke rate, which means how many times the blade goes up and down. Ideally, you want to be looking about 2,500 to 3,000 SPM, which is strokes per minute, and that will give you a good cutting. Motor power should be at least 500 watts for a corded model, or at least 18 volts if you're buying a cordless jigsaw. Other things to look out for with a jigsaw are things like orbital action, which adjusts the blade's motion for smoother and faster cuts. Bevel adjustment, which allows angles typically up to 45 degrees, so you can change the bed to cut a 45-degree angle. How easy is it to change the blade? A lot of them now have just got a quick release clip which you can just flick the blade out and put a new one in. And also another thing to consider is dust extraction. Does the jigsaw have dust extraction? Because this can be really handy because jigsaws can make quite a bit of dust. Now price wise, you can buy a jigsaw for less than £50, go up to £100 for a basic model, mid-range around about £100 to £200, and if you really want to go high end you can spend 200 plus. But I would only do this if you're using a jigsaw as your main tool. Let's take a look at random orbital sanders. Now these are available in corded or cordless. Again, corded, you're not dependent on a battery, but cordless sanders are great when you're getting in awkward areas, you're not sort of limited by the cable. Trusted brands are things like DeWalt, Makita, Bosch, Ryobi and Festool. Festool sanders are one of the market leaders in all random orbital sanders, and that's because of the reliability and also the dust extraction. When you're buying one, look out for a speed range of probably 6,000 to 12,000 OPM, that's orbits per minute. Other things to look for in a random orbital sander are things like variable speed, where you can adjust the speed for different materials and different finishes. Dust collection is a big thing with sanding. Always try and get something that's got dust extraction on it or a really good bag on it, because they do make a hell of a lot of dust. You want to make sure the sander's nice to hold, not too heavy and not too much vibration. Pad size, they tend to stick to two. There's a 5-inch or a 6-inch, so that'll be a 120 millimeters pad or a 150 millimeters pad. Price wise, around about £50 to £100 for a basic model. If you go in mid-range, £100 to £200, and then if you want to go high-end, you can spend over £200 on a professional grade. Okay, now let's look at planers. Planers are available in corded or cordless. Corded planers, again, they offer continuous power. You're not dependent on the battery, but cordless planers are great because one of the big issues with planers is you tend to catch the cable with the blades. So a cordless planer is a lot more versatile and give you a lot more freedom in the workshop. Brands available include Makita, DeWalt, Bosch, Ryobi, Festool. Most of the big boys, they tend to do planers. Makita I use myself in the workshop, and I've had my Makita planer for several years and it's been totally trouble-free. Power for planers, you're going to look at probably 6 to 7 amps for a corded model, and I wouldn't go for anything less than 18 volt if you're buying a cordless planer. Other things to look out for on a planer, you want to look for things like depth adjustment, what width they'll cut the blades, dust extraction, and things like kickstands which stop the planer blades touching the surface if you put the planer down. Price wise, you can get a planer for around about £70 to £150, mid-range around about £150 to £250, and if you really want to go high-end you can spend £250 plus, but I would stick with the middle range of around about £150 to £250. That should see you fine. Now, just to summarise, a final tip for all the power tools: always match the power tool to your scope of projects. Invested in high quality will save you time, money and frustration in the long run. Read reviews, watch demos and consider your specific needs before making a purchase.